In this video, I'm going to give you my top tips from the Captial Ring Walk. Chances are, if you're watching this video, then you've already seen my other video of the full route of the Captial Ring Walk, and if you haven't, I'll put a link up here. I did want to include my top tips in that video, but also I didn't want that one to be too long, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet and give you my 7 top tips of the whole route. And just before we start, you may want to do the Captial Ring Walk over 4 days like I did, or you may want to stretch it out. There's 15 sections, so it could be that you do it over 15 different weekends. And there was even one person on social media that messaged me to tell me that she wanted to run the whole 78 miles in one go non-stop. So I've formulated these 7 tips to suit everybody. Tip number 1, plan your route. Even though the Captial Ring Walk is really well signposted, there are some points where you get to junctions in the road or places in the park where you don't know which way to go. There's certain points of the route which are a little bit confusing according to the signs. For example, this sign is pointing that way, but the route is actually this way. And that's where having it downloaded to your phone via the Komoot app comes in really useful. You can download it, put your phone in flight mode, and then have the directions speak out loud so you know which way to take.
In 50 meters, take a sharp right onto hiking path.
There were certain points in the park where there was 3 signposts and I just didn't know which way to go. Here's another really good example of why it's good to have a map, because up here there are 3 arrows. So I checked my phone, I knew within a few seconds, and then I carried on my way. Tip number 2, that is, there's no rush. I walked the whole 78 miles over 4 days, and if I was to do it again, I'd increase the amount of days I did, because I walked through so many beautiful spaces. I walked through over 40 green spaces, and because I had so much distance to cover every single day, I didn't feel as though I could really stop and take in my environment. So bear that in mind. It depends what kind of adventure you want, but if you want to stop, take in the scenery, then I would advise don't rush. Tip number 3, and that is start early-ish. I started walking about 8 AM, and there were times where I wish I was on the road at about 7 AM. That way I missed a little bit of the rush, and it meant that I was immersed into the parks early before all of the traffic and all of the people. It also meant that I got to my destination quicker, and that meant I could spend the evening relaxing rather than just crashing into bed. I've got my priorities right. I've got a jar of biscuits and a hot chocolate. Tip number 4, and that's plan your tour stops. By tour stops, I mean food, water and toilet breaks. Along parts of the route, there's loads of shops and loads of places to stop. But on some of the days, I was surprised. I was just going from park to park to park, and there was really nowhere to stop. Something to bear in mind as you pick up the Grand Union Canal, there's not very many places to stop for food, water, and I'm 3 kilometres to my next stop. And I'm so thirsty. At some points the shops were about half a kilometre out the way, which doesn't sound like very much, but when you just want to get the 78 miles done, adding an extra kilometre into your route can be a bit of a challenge. I've done a bit of a detour because I drank all of my water and I am so thirsty. So if you can, check on the map, see where the towns are, the local village shops, and just maybe put a pin and just know that that's where you can stop. And I would say that once you do see a place, even if you're not hungry, if you're not thirsty and you don't need to go to the toilet, then make the most of it while you've got it. It could be 10 kilometres or more before you have another rest break. Tip number 5, and that is to follow the route. Across parts of the route, it felt as though I was being taken on a bit of a wild goose chase. I could have just nipped along a field and picked back up the route. but you find that if you do follow the route, it's always taking you towards a place of beauty, whether that be thick into the woods, up onto the hill, onto a viewpoint. And so by sticking to the route, you're getting the full experience of the whole adventure. Tip number 6, and that is wear the right footwear. You can get away with wearing trainers for this because it is an urban adventure, and I wore these, and in hindsight they didn't have enough grip or padding on the bottom. And if I was to do it again, I would probably wear my hiking boots that have just got a little bit more cushioning, because walking through the parks and on the trails there was some rocks, some stones, some roots and branches, and when I was walking 20 miles a day, then I found that this just didn't quite have enough protection. And there are some parts of the route where you will be immersed in parks pretty much the whole day. And tip number 7, it's just a personal preference. Somebody asked me on social media, do I listen to music and podcasts on my adventure? The answer is no. When I'm doing my adventure, I'm doing it to get away, to relax, and to take in the sights and the sounds of that experience. And although this one is in the city, I just wanted to really immerse myself in the whole experience and take everything in. If you can, enjoy every single moment. There are some points that get quite monotonous and quite boring. Feels like it goes on for ages. It's not very interesting. This path is lasting for ages. I'd be fibbing if I said that I was having a nice time right now. But if you can, try to enjoy those moments as well. I have made a video of everything that I took on the Captial Ring Walk. In fact, I have just made it, so I'm surrounded by everything. So if you're interested to see that, then I will put the link on the screen somewhere up here or at the end of this video. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this. If you're thinking about doing the Captial Ring Walk, or you have done it, you've got any tips, advice for anyone thinking about doing it, if you've got any questions, then please drop me a comment. Everything that's related to the Captial Ring Walk, I've made a video about and written some blogs, so I'll put those in the video description. And I do plan on making more videos like this. So if there's anything that you guys want to see, please drop it in the comments box. I'll put some other videos up on screen right now that I think that you might like. And as always, thank you very much for watching.